Before we get into the video, let me just say, if you're wondering why this entire video I do not refer to any character by their name, it's because they don't have a name. Their names are literally just descriptions of what they are, or nicknames, like Goblin Slayer. So with that out of the way, let's get into the recap. A young priestess decides to take up adventuring in her town's guild, and joins some other porcelain-ranked adventurers to slay some goblins that attack the village. Her party seem mighty confident in their abilities to take down these lowly goblins, but after blindly entering their cave, they soon find more than they bargained for, as they are ambushed, and one by one the adventurers begin to fall. Oh! Can I show this on YouTube?
That'll be fine.
Before the priestess can share their fate, an armored man appears from the shadows and makes quick work of the goblins chasing her. He offers her a potion for her wound, then ends the suffering of one of her companions. Next, he heads further into the cave to wipe out the remaining goblins, which, with the help of the priestess, he does, killing all 22 of them, even the younglings.
Not
Goblin Slayer.
he couldn't. And they rescue the other adventurer who was raped.
After this quest, the priestess continues to tag along with the silver-ranked Goblin Slayer on all of his adventures, which all involve killing goblins.
So why is Goblin Slayer so obsessed with killing goblins?
When he was a child, his entire village was raided and killed by goblins, and he watched his sister be defiled and killed by them, as he hid in silence.
Makes sense why he hates goblins so much now?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Now he lives with his childhood friend and her uncle, who were out of town at the time of the attack. Oh my god, I can see why you'd want to live with her. One day, when returning from a quest, 3 adventurers waltz into the guild looking for Goblin Slayer. They share with him that the leaders of men, dwarves, elves, and lizard men are gathering to hold a meeting regarding the recent resurrection of the Demon Lord and the impending attack. Though, as usual, Goblin Slayer is only interested in slaying goblins. Luckily, these adventurers, who were acting as representatives for their respective races, have a quest to do just that, as goblins are becoming more active on Elven land, though the kingdoms don't consider them enough of a threat to send the military. So, needing a representative of mankind with them on this quest, they ask him for help, and he swiftly accepts, with the 3 accompanying him, along with the priestess. So, the 4 silver-ranked adventurers and the 1 porcelain-ranked head out together, and after sharing some laughs and stoic responses around a campfire, they arrive at the goblin camp. Within the ruins, they find a mangled elf prisoner, and the lizard's dragon-toothed warrior carries her to safety. As they delve deeper, they find a horde of goblins, and put them to sleep with a mixture of spells, then silently slaughter them. Then, an ogre appears, and Orkbolg and his party struggle with this new enemy, until he uses a scroll that unleashes a devastating attack to slice it apart in one go. With their mission complete, they head back home for a lengthy rest. Elsewhere, a hero defeats the resurrected Demon Lord, and is the talk of every town.
Goblin 大使だ。
Oh, okay. Goblin Slayer takes up another quest, this one specifically asking for him to slay some goblins. The request comes from the Sword Maiden, a servant of the Supreme God, and one of the adventurers who defeated the previous Demon Lord. On this mission, Goblin Slayer surprisingly agrees to the lady's requests to not waterboard, poison, or set the goblins on fire. So, the party head to Watertown and meet the Archbishop of the Supreme God, who tells them of an acolyte woman who was killed by a goblin in town. So they deduce the goblins must have a base underground. Thus, they head for the sewers and take care of the goblins there, but are surprised to find a swamp dragon living within the sewage, swallowing anything in its way. Knowing how cowardly goblins are, Goblin Slayer deduces that the ones in the sewers didn't multiply naturally. They return the next day and follow the water upstream, where they end up trapped in a room, as the goblins try to poison them. Though thanks to Goblin Slayer's quick thinking, they manage to negate the poison. But when the little creatures come barging in with a champion amongst them, the party are overwhelmed. Beardcutter severely injured, but his pure hatred for goblins drives him forward to mar the champion, causing the rest of the goblins to run scared. This proves lucky, as he passes out directly after, and when he awakens, he finds himself next to the priestess, who was also severely injured, in the Archbishop's bed. I believe they fucked in order to revive him. Not entirely clear on that. The rest of the party continue scouting the sewers, whilst Goblin Slayer and the priestess get some repairs done, and enjoys some revolutionary frozen food called ice cream. When the entire party re-enter the sewers, they are faced with a strange laser-shooting eyeball creature, and Goblin Slayer uses the fine flour he had an adventurer from the guild deliver him to trick the creature into blowing itself up. Behind the creature's corpse, they find a gate leading to the goblin's home, and as they attempt to tear it down, a horde of goblins attack to reclaim their artifact. They hold them off long enough for Scaly to rip out the mirror, and as the place collapses, they hide under the teleporting mirror to avoid any damage. When they return, the Sword Maiden admits her shame in asking an adventurer for help to kill mere goblins, but shares how terrified she is of them after what they did to her 10 years ago. Though Goblin Slayer can't make her pain go away, he assures her that any time she needs some goblins slain, he will come. The party then return home, and one day during his regular morning patrols around the farm, Goblin Slayer spots dozens of tracks left by goblin scouts. He tells his friend to run, being that their attack is imminent, and without help, he will be unable to hold off over 100 goblins out in the open on his own. But she refuses to abandon him, forcing our hero to head to the town to gather help. He asks the guild members for help, and offers everything he owns as a reward. Though when the clerk who fancies him overhears, she manages to set up a reward of 1 gold coin for each goblin slain. This drives virtually the entire guild hall to sign up, and Goblin Slayer shares his knowledge with them to plan their defense for that night, being that they're likely up against a goblin lord. Thus, the adventurers protect the farm from small goblins, hobgoblins, and goblins riding wolves, whilst Goblin Slayer goes after their leader. The goblin lord is halted from leaving, but is more than capable of fighting for himself, as he knocks our protagonist down and stomps on him, though the priestess appears out of the forest to trap him with her protection spell, allowing Goblin Slayer to plunge his sword into the lord's neck. As dawn breaks, the goblins are all wiped out, and later at the guild, all the adventurers celebrate their joint victory together, and we even get to see his face. Oh, you fuckers. You just couldn't show it, could you? Elsewhere, the daughter of a noble takes on a quest to slay some goblins harassing a village, but her foolish idea to starve them out cost her party their lives, leading to her capture. The guild asks the Sword Maiden for help, who then turns to Goblin Slayer. He and his party arrive in time to save the hostage villagers from a group of the little critters. Then after a short rest, they head to find their cave. They take them out fairly easily, but Goblin Slayer finds that they're learning, using one of his tactics against them, suggesting they must be being led by someone with brains. They find the girl they're looking for naked and unconscious, laid upon a shrine, with the mark of the green moon on her neck, where the goblins supposedly come from. I don't really understand the gods in this world, but something about the goblins worshipping the god of external knowledge, who gives knowledge indiscriminately to all, disregarding those who suffer along the way.
You don't get it either, huh?
No, not really. They take the noble back to a hut to recover, and when she awakens, they plan their next move to attack some ruins up north, where the goblins are holed up. The noble insists she come with them to reclaim what she's lost, and the ladies act as offerings to the god of external knowledge, in order for them to be led into the goblin's fortress. They are taken to the dungeon, and the noble loses her cool when strangling a goblin priest, worrying the elf over her mental state. The party then sneak through the castle, and stumble upon a goblin coronation ceremony, and the mark on the noble's neck begins to throb with pain. The goblins then notice the group, and begin raining arrows down on them, causing the noble to panic. The party split up, with Lizard, the elf, and the dwarf on the mission of getting the fortress's prisoners to safety. Meanwhile, Goblin Slayer, the priestess, and the noble draw away the goblins, and escape the fortress. The goblins follow our heroes down the hill, however. Then when they reach a valley, the noble uses a lightning spell which causes an avalanche that wipes out the goblins, with the priestess protecting her party from sharing their fate. Though Goblin Slayer does get caught in the avalanche, but survives with his ring that allows him to breathe without oxygen. Then he returns the noble's sword to her, which he took from the goblin paladin he had defeated. So, the group return to the guild and celebrate the new year, minus Goblin Slayer, who is keeping watch as always. And finally, when the priestess comes to visit him on his watch, he lets free his caring side, and hopes she continues to help him in the new year. And that is Goblin Slayer Season 1 and the movie recapped. Thank you so much for watching to this point. If you did, you know what to do. Like, subscribe, comment. Stay tuned for another recap coming within the next few days for Dr. Stone. I love you all. Take it easy, and peace.